Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Tilted Talk. As always, it's Trooper Squared. How's it going, Tyler?
What's going on, Dave? How you doing, man?
Oh, just excited for all the kids and also sad that, they've made more money in one weekend than I'll probably ever make in my life.
No,
But
yeah, with that attitude, you're right. I mean, come on, man. I'd say you have a better chance now at getting a better rank, so to speak, if you want to compete, because now there's going to be a lot more casuals trying to compete. So I feel like since if you have a little bit of skill, you're already have a big advantage over a lot of those new players. But I don't know.
yeah,
It's been a crazy week.
it has. They need a gray hair league. Then maybe I can compete.
Yeah, right.
I've got a couple. They're hard to see, but they're there. All right, guys, we've got another great episode for you this week. We have a VOD review from one of the games at the World Cup itself. So we're not just breaking down a random game like we kind of have in the past, where we just found a good one online from recent play. We're actually going to be breaking down King, who came in 5th at the World Cup in solos. He's 13 and he made 900 grand.
Could I borrow like $5, King, if that's okay? Just like $5, 10 maybe max.
Yeah, that'd be great. Then we're gonna get into the World Cup itself. We'll talk a little bit about that, and then as usual, some hot takes, some clips of the week, and if you have any questions, drop them in chat for us. We will answer them at the end of the show. All right, without any further ado, let's hop into this VOD review. Look at that rhyming. I could be a poet.
You nailed it. All right. I watched the entirety of the event, and it was a blast. But the thing that I loved about King, I think that everybody did, is, I mean, not only is this kid a young prodigy, 13 years old, but when you're playing this aggressively in the World Cup of all places, I don't think anybody was expecting that. That's what kept him, I think, on everyone's radar, as well as keeping everyone on edge. No one expected somebody to just be pushing their box. That everyone thought, all right, look at that. Everyone's spread out amongst their drops, loot, and then as maybe it gets to the 5th circle, we'll all start fighting. But man, King was hunting everyone down and just beating them at their own game.
Yeah, and what I want to kind of draw some attention to here is where he's dropped. So he dropped just north of Fatal Field, south of Salty Springs, so relatively central location. But by dropping on one of these platforms, he's actually quite elevated here. And he's isolated. Like, there's not that many people anywhere near him, and no one landed there, obviously, because it's such a small spot, not the greatest loot. But he was able to mine a lot of metal just inside there very safely. So you see, to the start of this game, basically what he's decided to do is, go to some off-the-path locations, go to small places where you can mine the interiors and get some mats completely safely. He's very safe here. He's very free. And he's not going to be competing for any loot. He doesn't have to worry about anything, anybody kind of running into him just yet. And he's got himself a decent loadout. Like, it's not ideal, obviously, but he's already got himself a green AR. He's got that green pump, so he will be able to one-shot somebody if they're not 200. And he's got some minis. He's already at 50 shield. And he's got a couple of med kits as well. So a great way to start this game. Very intelligent and unorthodox, honestly. It's kind of unorthodox. You expect a lot of people to go to where those the named locations, so to speak. But he did a great job with this starting strategy.
Well, that's something that I think he has a big advantage with, is going to those sky bases, because everybody has a POI that they're going to, or some off the beaten path type place. But the sky bases are really smart, because you can, as you said, grab a lot of metal material from that. And there's I think 7 different ones, so he could just kind of adapt to wherever the bus is coming in and do it that way. And I don't think there's any other players that, at least to my knowledge, I'm not sure, that have a regular drop being in one of these sky bases. So whether this is something that he usually does, at least something that he did do, at least for this tournament, it worked out for him very well, because you also have that opportunity that you can now rotate in countless directions now, since you like you said, you're so high up in the air, and now with those those wind tunnels that can send you up and down the fans being put on them too. It just gives you just such an easy rotation to make. And actually watching this footage right here, he's so close to death from those stink bombs, that those things are so OP when it comes to, I guess, anybody's opinion, because it's the one thing that can snuff you out wherever you're hiding and also take down all of your health, which is so important because yeah, you might have a ton of shields like he has right now, but he has no time to pop that med kit.
No, he has no time at all. This player's been pressuring him for a while now. So you saw him trying to mine in that rock field, and unfortunately, he had somebody come up on him. It looked like he was surprised there.
But see, look at this, staying aggressive. It throws this guy for a loop, and he's like, wait, do I not have him as hurt as I think? Because why would a guy shot? I loved that shot, by the way. That was my favorite shot of the event. That hitting a shot that quick where like even the client could barely catch up and show you what happened with that. Can you actually go back, because it was so sick we have to watch it twice?
Yeah, if we can rewind this here a couple of seconds, then
yeah,
that'd be perfect. But yeah, so you see he's right, like this guy's been chasing him for time.
He beats that wall down until it's one hit, goes to the other side of the box, jumps in one movement, jumps to the other side of the box, whacks it with his pickaxe, replaces, edits through, and shoots the guy before he can put down his ramp. That is insane technical skill right there.
Oh yeah, that was so technically proficient. And just, I mean, I think the number one thing to take from that, though, is that this guy did not lose his cool at all. Like, that was an insane amount of pressure to start the game under. I mean, you had a good start, you got some mats, you were trying to mine up some more, and this guy's basically just hunting you down. I think that was Jedowika. I think that's how you say his name. Was just hunting him down the entire time. And for him to not only survive, you know, he had to Shadowstone, go up back towards the vent where he started. Then he had to Shadowstone again and run away and kind of build a 1x1 and try and shield up. And he just managed to stay alive just long enough that he could actually get the fight on his terms. And what a job he did when he actually had that as the situation. He was able to stay alive. And in these World Cup type games, I mean, that right there might have been the difference for him between 5th place and 10th place, right? Like, this was it's still pretty early in the game. And so for him to stay alive there and win that, like, that is huge, that you're not losing a game to a poor placing that you otherwise could have.
There are so many different thoughts that go into pushing when you have a regular solo game compared to a game like this where Siphon is included. He's able to manipulate his opponent's mindset, get aggressive, even though he has next to no health left. Oh, nice kill there. Just made that look easy. That guy was just caught out in the open. That was a kill that you would see in a regular pub game. That guy was so hurt he had no time to be able to do anything. Just caught out completely in the open in easy pickings. And I mean, when he's getting good placements on the map to get loot, and then also being able to get those aggressive rotations, any of those little kills out in the open are going to be super easy for him. But to finish my point, he's using everybody's muscle memory and habits against them. When you have a guy and you hit him down for white, you're throwing stinks at him, you have him on the run, you're going to try and stay aggressive, but you don't expect him to try and push into your box. You think he's going to try, get some separation, and then pop his med kit, pop his healing, whatever he has. But the way King is able to, he's cool, calm, and collected in every fight, because he's like, hey, if I win this fight, I'm going to get 50 health. A lot of the players in their head, they're just thinking of playing defensively. Well, he's playing aggressively, super offensively, basically to formulate his best defense. He's not even trying to turtle up. He's just trying to take your wall and just straight up own you on the biggest stage of them all.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Just the level of confidence, especially from a 13-year-old. I mean, it's kind of mind-bending, to be honest. But we just saw how many players were in that tilted area, so he's making his way over there now. Gonna box up, and you see he's pretty smart about this. Like, he never wants to be out in the open. As soon as he is anywhere at all where he's exposed, he's gonna build that box. He'll edit things out. Here's some gunfire going on, so he's gonna edit it really quick and try and get some shots down. Does manage to hit a couple. The one thing I want to point out about that one kill that he got out in the open was, in the World Cup, like, you have to think about how good these players are, right? So for him to be able to do that quickly, take that guy out before he even had a chance to build or do anything or react, super, super impressive. Now you see here, he's kind of hugging the storm. So this is a really great situation for him to be in, because he's very, very confident that at this point there's nobody behind him. He knows he can kind of keep his back to one direction and know that he'll be okay, which is really, really critical in a game like Fortnite, when you can theoretically be shot from 360 degrees, right? Here's that player get boogie bombed, and he's going to finish him off, stealing a kill there. and he's gonna just go back and hide in his little corner. Like he's just throwing these other guys for a loop right now. They know he's around. They just saw their kill get jacked, but they don't know exactly where he is. And he's gonna let him even go for the loot. Like you see him there, not actually going for that right away.
Yeah, just baiting people. It's whoever has the most patience a lot of the time. And that's such a smart way to rotate, especially so late in the end games. Sometimes if you're lucky enough, you'll run out of that momentum throwing you from those shockwaves and just end up right in somebody's box. And I've seen that happen plenty of times. Having him fighting at least getting this amazing spot where the circle is, if he's able to win this fight, which I believe he does at this point. He has already the right spot he needs to be in. Being able to use utilities as well as he is, he's so well rounded. I haven't really seen any part of his game that is lacking in any way, in any sense of the game, I think.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the one thing where I think he could, take another step is maybe his map management, his resource management. Like we see, he's been mining the whole game. Mm-hmm. He's been getting kills, and yet he's only got 153 mats left at this point. So he's in some trouble material-wise, and that might come back to bite him at the end here. Especially so if you're going to build a 1x1 to stay safe, it's actually instead of doing that, what you can do is you can build a floor and then a roof like that, like the triangle roof.
Yep.
And just hide under it and edit it, right? And that saves significant amount of mats. And it allows you to kind of stay alive, like right here, for example. Like you see how low he is on mats. He's gotten a few more. He's at 280. He doesn't necessarily need to be super, super concerned just yet.
No, he's out.
Now he's out, right? Yeah. So this is where you kind of run into problems, because if you don't have the mats at this point in the game, you're in a big, big, big world of trouble.
And is he aware that he's low? And that was a great kill. And you can see how he's pushing because he knows that he is low. Yeah. So he needs to make that move. He did at least get some right there. So that's really helpful. It's so hard. You are obviously in close range, but when you have to keep consistently moving, it's so hard to try and prioritize grabbing the loot. And as you said, that loot can get you killed a lot of the times. And this is definitely probably the worst spot you're going to need to have to worry about mining or farming any materials. Look at that shot.
That shot was so nice. That shot was so nice. And then he gets the second one there. Like, that's just, oh man, this kid is mechanically talented beyond belief. Like, he definitely has a huge amount of potential. And you see, he wants all those, the guns, he wants the ammo, he wants everything. But unfortunately, he was out of mats. He couldn't do anything. An epic whale manages to take him out. So overall, great gameplay. There's a reason he came in 5th. I mean, he was super aggressive. He was getting multiple kills every single game. Really, really fun player to watch, especially if you speak Spanish. I definitely recommend checking out his stream. He's from Argentina, as we mentioned, and he put Latin America on the map this tournament. I mean, he made it so that you cannot ignore South America and that whole region, which is, I think a region that a lot of people were sleeping on coming into the World Cup. A lot of people were thinking NA, EU, and, while those did prove to be like the best regions overall, there's some really good talent in the rest of the world, and King is like a prime example of that.
Yeah, the way that he is able to get on a stage this big at such a young age and play that well, he is going to be just fine because people have now recognized the skill. That they know now, hey, I want to keep looking out for this guy, and there's going to be a lot of potential sponsorships, endorsements maybe coming his way. Orgs that definitely want to sign him. If I don't think he's signed yet.
Team 9Z.
And Team 9Z. Okay.
It's a Spanish or a South American organization. I'm not sure if it's from Argentina or Brazil or probably.
They're going to do everything they can to keep him, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing too about being a player in one of those regions is that you can kind of become the golden boy for that language and that region, right? So even if you're not getting the big North American team, well, maybe you get all sorts of deals with South American companies and with companies that operate within Argentina. Maybe he'll get to do advertisements there. Companies will reach out to him. A lot of these, especially these big brands, they have like international campaigns, right? And they very rarely go with one person for the whole campaign or one type of advertisement. Like, they do a lot of market research. So they'll realize like, hey, we're going to do a Fortnite commercial. We're going to do it in South America. Why don't we use King? Like for the Spanish version, right? Rather than, Tifu or,
and if he markets himself right, he could be one of the biggest international stars, up and coming stars, at least.
Definitely. I mean, this tournament made a lot of them, including Bugha, who we'll get to in a couple minutes as the solo champion. First, I think we should hop into duos, since that was the way that it went chronologically over the course of the weekend. So let's let's start breaking down the World Cup here a little bit. Let's talk about the duo tournament. So overall, I was super sad, dude. Saf and Zeit were doing so well.
Yeah,
they were in the lead.
It's
for most
crazy
of the
how
week.
close they were. I thought they were really consistent, but just could not.
Just that last
close it.
game. Yeah, just that last game. They were in first place the entire time, and
Yep.
they just couldn't quite clinch it, which is super unfortunate for them. They still walk away with 750 grand each, so not a bad split.
They ain't hurt.
But the winners, Nyrox and Aqua.
Yes.
I don't think many people had these guys coming out on top. I think a lot of people were thinking Mongrel and Mitro, who came in sixth. Even like Mega and Dubs were up there. Zexro and Vinny were up there, but none of them were able to take it. 100 Thieves, great performance with Elevate and CC. Lazarus, Canadian guys. I actually know the owner, so I'm sure he's pretty happy. Rojo and Wolfies, or Rojo and Wolfies, came in second. So honestly, it was a really, really exciting weekend and a really exciting Saturday because, it looked like Zaf and Sight were going to win. And everybody was like, okay, well, this is kind of over. And then all of a sudden they fall down to fifth, and that last game turns into, or fourth, excuse me. And that last game turns into total mayhem. I love how some of these players are not on orgs too. Like there's no org represented. Like that's just so great.
Not for long.
Yeah. But that's exactly what I was hoping was going to happen with this event and with the World Cup series in general, was that it was going to make a lot of players' careers. We were going to get to see a lot of different players that we hadn't heard of or that were young and really talented at the game, but didn't have the fan base or the following. They hadn't been dedicated to streaming, or if they were streaming, nobody was picking up who they were. These guys have names now. They have careers. Like Booga Stream was off the charts today.
40K it kicked off with.
It's nuts. So super, super excited to see what these guys are going to do with this newfound fame to an extent, right? Like, what are they going to do now that they have the audience, they have the fan base, people know who they are?
Yeah, I mean, what would you do? I mean, just keep doing what you're doing, I guess, and then maybe get some guidance if you don't have any plans, and try to nurture what you've gained, and try to build even more and get some content out there and establish your brand. I mean, Booga definitely has somewhat, he's definitely has a brand and has the way his stream looks on Twitch. It's got the layout and everything. He was well equipped. So this isn't somebody that was not prepared or didn't have a social media handle or anything. So. I mean, if you're in esports, you're going to be having some sort of social media page or some website or something to try and cross promote yourself. So as a player, I mean, it was really any of these players, they were bound to just explode in viewership numbers. And he's been interviewing on talk shows and everything, and he's been pretty well composed for a 16-year-old too. So I mean, you gotta hand it to him, because especially there's a lot more people now that are unfamiliar with esports, Fortnite, and at this point, if you're unfamiliar with it, there's so many people that are still not familiar with how esports works. And this, I'd say he's a nice way to at least try and introduce some of those casual people or people that don't know more about it, that would watch like a late night talk show and see this person and then say, oh, this kid just won $3 million. Oh, that's hey, and then call his kids into the room and say, isn't that game that you play? Like, I can see that happening all across America, and everywhere else. But it's one of the things that, well, I didn't know that you could do all that, and that's best case scenario. Where worst case scenario, or sometimes you'll see people, they'll react the same way you'll see those people react to on an ESPN esports tweet where they'll say not a sport or something. They'll have a completely negative reaction to something like that just because they're unfamiliar with it. But I think somebody that like him getting interviewed and being put out there, he like I said, was composed, kept it together well. He seems like he's got his head on straight. So it's good to get more of that kind of attitude out there, so people think like, oh, the stereotypes are super outdated when it's tied to the position of what a world class professional gamer might look like to most people. It's one of those things where like the Doritos and sitting in his mom's basement and the Mountain Dew and all that, but it's like definitely that stigma I think is a little dated now at this point.
Yeah, well, I mean, he did say he woke up at noon, which for some reason the crowd reacted to. Like, give me a teenager that doesn't wake up at noon. I'll show you a weirdo.
I
know. If you wake up earlier than that, I mean, no offense. It's just a joke. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I always slept that late. I mean, it was like after 12:30, then you're really pushing it for me. The latest I've ever slept was 4, which is just madness. But that was the day. That's all you can only get away with that if you either very sick or living at home with your parents. There's like really the only other 2 ways, or otherwise you're fired or something.
I hate to break it to you, dude. That happened to me this week, and I live by myself.
Oh, all right. See,
you just have to work remotely.
That's all we're doing. We're breaking stigmas. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. You just got to. Well, to be fair to me, I went to sleep at like 10 in the morning. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure when you're playing Fortnite all night long, that's bound to, slightly adjust your sleep schedule a little.
Yeah. Slightly. But yeah, the one thing I wanted to draw a little bit of attention to from that highlight video is that, just to kind of reiterate what I was saying earlier, was that Saf and Sight were on top of that leaderboard the entire time. Then they got 3 points in the 5th game and 1 point in the 6th game, and that was it. Like, they just lost their whole lead. So it was super unfortunate, but huge shout out to Aqua and Nyrox. That name, Nyrox. They did fantastic. So, got to give credit where credit's due. They played the entire 6 games. They didn't take a break after a couple. Those guys thought, and I think Zeit was already imagining the take the L dance on top of the mountain again, like he did in Pizza.
Oh, that would have been sweet.
It would have been, but unfortunately not meant to be. That's why you got to play till the end, my friends. I think it was a good lesson for everybody. Like, you got to make sure you're competing right until the final whistle, till the fat lady sings, as they like to say. Well, let's get into solos. So we've already talked a little bit about Bugha.
Yeah.
I think he did a fantastic job. Psalm came in 2nd. Epic Whale, 3rd. Creo came in 4th. So Lazarus showing up big here this weekend. That's a great job for them. King, the guy whose VOD we just reviewed, came in 5th. Mostly on kills. But I mean, just look how much Bugha won by. 59 points when nobody else had 40. Like, that is mind-blowing. And there's some really good players up here too, but we didn't see a lot of the players that we thought we were going to. Like, there's guys like Bizzle that just were absent from these top leaderboards that a lot of people were expecting to see up here. Yeah. What do you think that was? Was it just pressure? Was it, just all these players are so good? Or, the one thing that I think is happening a little bit is that people are equating stream popularity with talent. And while stream popularity is definitely, like, talent factors into that for sure. It's a super important factor. Like, you're not going to be a really popular streamer unless you're good at the game you're playing, 99.9% of the time. There's always that one guy who's just hilarious. But streaming is about way more than that. It's about dedication to streaming. It's about entertainment. And I think, an event like this just says all that other stuff is out the window, doesn't matter. The only thing that matters here is how good are you at Fortnite against these other top players. Because again, it's different to play an arena game, even an arena at a high level where a lot of the players are good. There's tiers to everything, right? And I think a lot of people don't realize how, even at a professional level, how tiered it gets. Like, there's the pros that are barely pros, and then there's the pros that clean everyone's clock, and then there's, like, the way, to use a sports analogy, there's like your average NBA player, right? There's your average NBA bench player, sorry. Then there's your average NBA, then there's like a really good bench player. Then there's your average NBA starter. Then there's the elite starters, like the all-stars. And then above that, there's like Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's completely tiered. And I think that's what we saw this weekend with guys like Bugha just coming out and showing not only are they good at the game, but they're this much better at the game than everybody else at that top level.
The separation is getting just more and more clear. The skill ceiling is especially is separating between a lot of not just players in general, but these top players. And a lot of people thought Tfue was, the king of the castle, but he had a really rough day for solos, and you ended up. It's crazy because he drops the at the block normally, and he had that spot pretty much to his entirety, just to himself. So getting a free POI to be able to get materials, get loot, and then not be able to get any points until I think fourth or fifth game. I mean, it was definitely really tough to nail to bite, and it makes you wonder when you get to a certain level. I mean, it's harder because you do have certain priorities. You do have slightly different priorities when you are at a big level in terms of just player or brand or personality, because your stream numbers are so important, because that's your full-time job. Well, you have a player like Tfue, who's the top Fortnite streamer, or one of the top Fortnite streamers, easy top 3, and he would end up playing the game maybe a little differently, playing for entertainment, doing high kill solos rather than scrimming properly and getting proper practice maybe before the World Cup solos. While you have these other players that are not at his popularity level, but could easily say just as good, if not better, at his skill level, as we've seen clearly, then you have a lot hungrier players that are just constantly grinding and doing all the right things when it comes to training, when it comes to prepping and practicing. And that's when you're going to start seeing the separation for these players. I knew that going into this, when you have that top 0.01% of the best players and they're going to be on this stage, you knew you were going to see some insane technicality with these guys. And I mean, it was so impressive with some of the skill sets that you saw, that big players like Tfue, just down the list, or players like we were saying on Ghost, like Saf or Bizzle. I mean, definitely tells you a lot now, and tells you where these players are coming from, and to keep an eye out on all of these different names that are in the community.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why it's like Fortnite is such an awesome game for that, because it's so unpredictable to an extent. Or at least it was, right? And this was something that we said, I think, on the very first episode, that we were really excited about the World Cup to see what names kind of made their mark on esports through this World Cup competition. And we were proven completely right. A lot of these guys, like, they were definitely known in the hardcore competitive community, but they didn't have careers. They didn't have followings, right? Yep. So for them to be able to do this and be able to say, you know what, Dad, I don't think I need to work at that 7-Eleven anymore. I'm pretty set.
Yeah, right.
His reaction just killed me. Like, he just looked completely in disbelief. He didn't know what to do. Like, he wasn't jumping up and down, losing his mind. He was just like shaking his head, being like, is this happening?
Yeah.
Like, it was almost like no reaction whatsoever. He played it very, very cool. But that almost makes me think that we're going to see him win more of these, because he's clearly somebody who doesn't get overly energized, I guess, which, while that can be good for some things, for a game like Fortnite where hand-eye coordination is everything, you don't want to have like a case of the jitters, or where you're too excited and not thinking properly. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to see a lot more of him at these high-level tournaments, finishing near the top, and he's definitely made himself the name to watch over the course of this coming season. The one thing I want to give a lot of credit to in that solos thing was actually the casters. For them, that is, I mean, we both cast. We know how hard it can be to cast a game where the outcome is determined, right? But I think they did a great job finding the other storylines, in terms of finding, like, this is a close, it's close in these parts of the standings, like 2nd through 5th. And that's still a huge money discrepancy, right? So they kind of managed to keep the hype. They kept the energy level. They tried to not bring too much attention to the fact that the game was just a formality, essentially, and that Bug had already won. Like, they made it still an exciting game.
You know what I think would have helped, just to press on to a little bit what you were saying? I would imagine they're going to keep improving everything on every level with the competitive, especially the spectator experience. I imagine having those endgame scenarios where you have that 3-camera view, where there's 2 different views, and then that whole side screen showing the circle moving from the outside of the that big sky view. Now, I would imagine it would help to see if whoever's in, say, the top 5, top 10, their name tags were purple with the number that they were currently in, or something. You know what I mean? Like, telling you, like, hey, this is a person to keep an eye on, and in the mess of things.
Yeah, like placing on one side and points on the other of their name tag.
Exactly. Right? So like just a little indicator on it, so you would be able to tell when you have all these different players like tunneling and trying to go after each other. I think that would be a nice addition to it.
That's a great idea. It's almost like you're a caster or something, Trooper. It's almost like what would be good on a broadcast.
I should give it a shot sometime.
Yeah. You got the voice for it. I think you can pull it off. But yeah, I mean, honestly, the whole weekend was fantastic. The creative part was really fun. Everything was great. They pulled it off pretty seamlessly, honestly, considering the the
Yeah.
technical challenges and logistics. Like I've been at tournaments that were significantly smaller, and the amount of time and prep that goes into making sure it all works is crazy. So I don't even want to know what those tech guys had to do and how many times they checked and double checked and triple checked that they could get all the computers into a lobby and that it was all working and everything was going smooth. Like
The planning that went into it was insane.
yeah, shout out to that whole team for putting that together because that is not an easy feat, and they did it without a hitch. So
They were
honestly,
so smart with how they did it because putting the creative finals on Friday and airing it still towards the end of the day Friday, so like everyone's still kind of in work or leaving school. Well, not school, but just wasn't the full end of the day where you would have most people watching. They had the biggest events or the main events on Saturday and on Sunday where the most people could actually tune in, and also being able to run those creative finals first, they're able to work any technical kinks out before the bread and butter starts to air. So it was a very smart move on their part because on Friday they ran, I think, like 3 hours over. But I think that was also had a lot to do with the way that those creative games worked, on top of a bunch of things. And another thing, I guarantee you, they wanted to give everybody a little bit of a story, a little bit of a background, I'm sure, for the duos and the solos, because for creative, they introduced every single duo, and it took like a full hour to do all those intros. It was crazy. They panned the camera to each person, introduced them by name, and then the casters said a little bit about them. Some of them had video packages. It ran for, I think, a full 60 minutes. Then they finally started the creative finals. So it helped bloat the time a little bit, the running time. So they kind of ran over. But I'm willing to bet that they had something like that, I would think, in mind for the more prominent part of the tournament with these players. But there'd just be no time once they saw probably how long that took. Realistically, it was just that you can't introduce 100 players because now you're looking at an hour and a half maybe of just introductions, and it's like
if you give them a minute each, it's almost 2 hours.
This isn't the Undertaker walking down the ramp at WrestleMania. This is Fortnite. We gotta get the games going. We don't need an hour-long intro.
Yeah, exactly. But it was cool, and I think it kind of that goes back to what Bala said the last time he was here about how they wanted to do a better job providing the story, and I think they tried to intertwined a lot of that just with the casting. And when they pulled up a new player that wasn't somebody that was a gigantic name, they tried to give a little bit of a background and give you some context for who this player was, how they qualified. And I mean, Boga qualified the very first week.
That's what's
not an accident. Not an accident. Like, he was clearly the best player in his region and clearly in the world. So shout out to him. And as we said to the Fortnite team, because they pulled off a record-breaking event. Like, the stats from this event are nuts. 2.3 million concurrents. 2.3 million concurrents. So they had 40 million people who tried to compete, which is insane. That's literally bigger than some countries. And 2.3 million across just YouTube and Twitch. Just those two platforms, making it the biggest and most watched event ever.
Not counting any other platform, not counting regional views from China's region. I mean, it's insane.
Right.
It's crazy and how big this was.
So, for example, here in Toronto, Luminosity Gaming held the thing at Yonge and Dundas Square, which is like where the Raptors ended their championship parade. Okay, like, it's a big area, and they had a ton of people there watching the Fortnite World Cup. Like, so that counted as one stream viewer.
Right.
And there was, how many, like, probably at least a couple hundred people there. So when you factor in stuff like that, it is just mind blowing how many people were tuned into this. Then you have all of China, which is like, China could have had like 10 million by themselves. Like, it's possible. Their appetite for esports is insane. That's why League of Legends and Dota always score so well on the metrics, because once you account for Chinese viewership, it's bananas. And this was over a weekend. So to get 2.3 million concurrents, I mean, that's just nuts. That is just nuts. So, I
mean, that has to just be a point where, I mean, it's going to be in the mainstream before we know it, in a big way. And when you have like ESPN reporting on stuff like that, I mean, they're bound to, because you're whether it's video games or not, you're competing at something for a large sum of money, and that's bound to be reported on. So I mean, regardless of how boomers might feel about it or whatever, when it comes down to it, you're eventually going to have to get used to it
Yeah.
at some point, because it's really how everything is shifting. And hey, and even if your parents don't agree with it, then tell them Farming Simulator has tournaments, and they're like, oh wow, a game that's hard labor. Okay, I like that. So they there's something for everybody. I mean, really.
Oh my God, I can't believe you just went there. But yeah, ESPN even has an esports section. Like they have Jacob Wolf, who I don't know, but he releases incredible work, and then Emily Rand, who I do know, who's one of the best journalists in all of esports. Period. Like that girl's phenomenal, and they pay them to do nothing but cover esports. So it's slowly but surely seeping into the mainstream. But this actually brings us nice segue. It's almost like you knew what we were going to talk about next. Our first hot take, which is pretty interesting. So basically, this was a post on Reddit. A mom was at her son's karate class after the World Cup, and a lot of the moms were joking about how some 16-year-old rotted his brain and won $3 million, how it was such a waste of time, and how he's probably half brain dead due to playing so much Fortnite. And she stood up and was, genuinely pissed, apparently, and told him that she thought it was fantastic that he stuck to his dream and made it a reality. And she also got real snarky with them. This is my favorite part, and asked them how much time they put towards their careers. And now, the rest is basically her saying none of them want to talk to her, but she wanted to just, put out a message of support there, saying that those people were incorrect, and that if you're following your dream and your passion, it's always a good thing to do. And again, this kind of brings us back to so there's a couple different things going on here. Like one, there's still the stigma, right? There's still that stigmatization that I think we're slowly starting to break, but people, especially older people, just don't think video games are a good use of your time. And, sometimes that's true. Everybody's different, right? But sometimes they can be a phenomenal use of your time. You can hang out with your friends. You can make new friends. I have friends from all over North America that I met through gaming. And if it wasn't for gaming, I wouldn't have them. So I feel like it's enriched my life, right? And I know you, with how much esports stuff you've done, you probably feel the exact same way. Like you have contacts in states and different countries, and that you wouldn't know those people if it wasn't for this, right? Like even us, I wouldn't know you.
Nope.
You live in Philly. I live in Toronto. But
there's no way.
Yeah, there's literally a 0% chance we would know each other. Yet through gaming, we can become friends. It's fantastic. So there's that stigma that still needs to be broken, that some people are snotty about. But I think what this post really spoke to me about, and what I kind of want to echo this mom's point, is almost like a jealousy or like an anger. Like I think a lot of people, when they see other people succeeding at something they love, it makes them question their entire life. Because a lot of people will go a safe road, right? Like, oh, I could do this thing that I like to do, but I don't know how that's going to fare out for me. I don't know how that'll work. So let me go with this safe alternative here. And then when you see somebody make it doing what they love to do, it almost like makes you question your original decision. Like, shit, did I make the wrong call? Should I have gone after what I wanted to go after instead of, going after, just playing it safe the whole time? Because if you play it safe, you can't lose, but it's really, really, really hard to win, right? Like it's really, really hard. You need to have, you need to kind of put yourself out there a little bit. And I think a lot of people, when they see somebody do that, especially older people who have probably told their kids not to play video games. So now they feel a little bit of guilt, being like, shit, I guess this is an actual career path. Plus, they probably have made some of those safe versus, chasing your dream decisions in their own lives. It just culminates in all this anger and resentment.
It is. It's a lot of confusion too, because they see something like that and it goes against everything that their parents ever taught them, or that they were telling their kids. I mean, at least for the most part, for parents that, even go to the route of taking away the entire console or breaking it or selling it. It's a shame for kids that live in such strict households like that. And to find out and hear that there's a kid that won $3 million playing a video game that most 99% chance that your kid has played, it's going to create just a massive, just this cocktail of emotions of confusion and anger and definitely jealousy, because they'll think my freaking kid plays that all day long. Why don't I have $3 million? Well, right there, those are the people that react that way. The people that react like the person that lady's talking about in that posts, that Reddit post, those are the people that already have that stigma in their head, that have had that their whole life, that aren't open-minded either.
Yeah.
And it's, you can already tell, if there was a parent that was supportive of you playing games, or didn't mind that you played games, or even occasionally played them with you, they would never hear the news about this Fortnite World Cup event and react negatively. They would be surprised, astonished, shocked, wanting to know more. So you already know that, there's going to be a big group of people that are going to respond this way, because it's still starting to break through those ceilings, or break the ice with all these people. It's still reaching the outer portions of the mainstream itself. So you're bound to get a lot of people like this, but I didn't really. I kind of wish I had the hindsight or the foresight for this originally, but man, the Fortnite World Cup itself, this whole past weekend, this is like a big shift. Like, I think a big pivotal shift now in esports that I didn't really foresee, even though I knew how big the prize pool was going to be. Yeah, Dota has the international, and it's got an enormous prize pool this year as well, over 30 million, I believe. But Dota is a very, very popular title in a lot of different countries, not so popular as well as in the mainstream of America, of the United States. So when you have a game like Fortnite now getting this put out there into the public with a prize level this much, you're going to have, I think, now a lot more parents supporting their kids, a lot more endemic sponsors that haven't jumped in yet. This is a big shift that I think was going to happen eventually, but this was the event that it was going to happen with. And I mean, right now, Fortnite, it was the best game it could have happened with, because it's the most notable game at the moment in the world. So especially with parents, you know what I mean? So
yeah, definitely. I've been asked, like, because I'm, sadly, I'm getting to the age where some people that I'm acquaintances with or something have kids, and I get asked about Fortnite. Like, so what's this Fortnite thing? Can I let my kid play it? Is it violent?
Do they look at you though and be like, "Why you play that game my kid plays all day?"
No, these people know I'm weird. They know I like playing video games. I've been doing this since I was like 14, right? This has been my life since forever. So most people, when they're talking to me about it, understand what's going on here. But
hey, when people snap me like that, I'm like, hey, Game of Thrones, they just dress up like that and they pretend to fight dragons, right? Those aren't real, those aren't real people. There's a Starbucks cup underneath the table. You can see it.
I can't believe that happened. That made me so upset.
I know, but
the last season of Game of Thrones, boo, shame. I just want to have that woman that they had walking around saying shame at people, just following the screenwriters for the rest of their lives. Shame. Anyway,
that's what I want to say to some of these parents though, when they
definitely
negatively.
And honestly, you see this reaction in other things too, right? It's not just with esports and gaming, but as a general rule, guys, if somebody reacts like that around something that you're passionate about, they're just a shitty human being. That's just all there is to it. You shouldn't ever, put down something that somebody's super into. There's, at least you should try and figure out why. And the rotting your brain argument, I mean, that just shows literally zero knowledge of video games, because especially competitive multiplayer games, they've shown that those are actually really good. And there's been lots of studies that have shown this sort of stuff, that they're actually really, really good for you. They force you to think fast, think critically about what's going on in the game. They force you to communicate a lot of the time. It's not that guy sitting by himself, not talking to anybody. That's, World of Warcraft in 2002 kind of deal. We're so far past that. And even that was a very social game. A lot of people make great friends on World of Warcraft. So even that was a misnomer, but there were a lot of people who played it kind of solo, I guess. And that's where a lot of these stereotypes came from. But Fortnite's not that way at all. And video games today, esports especially, are just not that way. The communities become super, even if it's a game like Fortnite where there's a solo competition, those guys who are the top competitors all become great friends. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. If you're a parent, encourage your kids to play some of these games if they like them, because they'll make great friends and they'll thank you for it later. They won't resent you.
And I love football, but your kid doesn't have to smash their head over and over into other kids. I mean, just saying. Sadly, I think the NFL is going to have a lot of trouble getting new players after a certain point.
Oh yeah,
because parents are not going to let their kids play certain contact sports, and And you know, and mom, hey, I want to start playing football. Or, hey, I want to play baseball. Or, I want to skateboard. I want to do whatever other activity they might want to do. Costs money for equipment. Most people already have a computer. Fortnite's free. So, I mean, there's so many ways that it undercuts most recreationals that, yeah, there's parents that are probably going to want to learn a hell of a lot more. And it's crazy when I talk to people, even nowadays, people that I know very well. And this could be really good friends, coworkers, family members, and it might come up in conversation, the word Twitch, or the idea of what Twitch is, and just streaming in general. And they'll ask, "What's Twitch?" They've never heard of it in their life, and I'm like, "Wow." Oh man! All right, I got a treat for you because you always get like different reaction. It's so great when you show them the homepage and how it's laid out and the viewers, and it's like it's a Netflix for video games, and anybody can start streaming, and it's like you can make such crazy get a crazy brand and following behind it. I mean, there's I think with everybody, with these types of adults that might react this way when it comes to big tournaments and gaming just taking over the mainstream. I think baby steps can help anybody when it comes to a negative stigma. It can always be done with baby steps. When they're in a bubble all day and their friends are just winos as well, and they only complain about stuff that's on Fox News, when they see, hey, Fortnite player wins $3 million, of course they're gonna go and freak out. You know what I mean? Like if they may learn subtly about how like these things are actually adapting and how they've grown into this, rather than them just seeing a headline. Like, man, yeah, I would imagine some parents might have thought that they were watching like oh, The Onion now has a news network on our station. That's crazy. They probably didn't even believe it at first.
Yeah, well, it's definitely hard to believe. I mean, he won more money than Tiger Woods ever won from the Masters. It's even hard for me to. Which is like that's hard for us to believe. Became the highest paid individual from one competition, I think, across anything ever, which is just like what? I know. It's hard to wrap your head around, but honestly,
you know who was the biggest winner out of all that? The IRS. They won big with that. The
IRS was so happy when they heard that.
I think that's every player's org. Is the IRS technically? Yeah. Oh, we get a giant cut of that, buddy. Let me tell you.
You know for sure that the IRS had some people watching, just rooting for all the Americans. Give us all of the money, Epic. Give it to us, give us all of it. All the different other countries, they don't get that money. So, honestly, though, Canada, we have a ridiculous tax rate too. So I'm sure. I think you have to pay New York City tax as well because you won it in New York City. So I think he has to pay New York, state, and federal, which is insane. He'll probably be left with like $1 million of it.
That's true, because state and federal, those can be different everywhere. So yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
Well, another topic for another time, I guess. When the IRS takes your gaming money.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for that one. But we did get, I know there's something that we were both kind of expecting, and Fortnite delivered, Epic delivered. There is a new season of competitive. Well, new season starts tomorrow of Fortnite. So unfortunately, we don't have the patch notes for you guys because it's tomorrow. So
we're missing it by about 7 or 8 hours.
Yeah. But we do get this beautiful announcement on the Champion Series. So essentially, starting with Season 10. Now, I don't know if this means literally this coming weekend or like 2 weekends from now. Players will compete weekly with the goal of becoming Season 10 champions with millions of dollars again at stake. They're going to add a leaderboard so you can track your progress, follow your favorite players, all that good stuff. And they, just mention to follow our Twitter so that you can stay up to date. So that's all well and good. A, not at all surprised that they announced it so soon. B, they've kept it low key, so obviously this could end in another World Cup style tournament. But C, I think this is really, really good for Arena.
Yes.
Because Arena now is going to feel less like just stomping pubs, and at those higher levels especially, it's going to be a lot about making sure you're up there and practice so that you can beat a season champion at the end, right? And you can win those games. So I think it's going to be really, really good overall. I'm excited to see what they do. I don't know if they're going to cast all of it. They haven't really announced much, right? But they haven't left us completely hanging. There will be a competitive season again starting next week. Or maybe not next week, but I'm assuming they'll probably take 1 week off It would be pretty crazy if they didn't take at least a week or two off.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure even a lot of the players, like, they've been grinding 8 to 10 hours a day. Like, it doesn't matter how much you love something. After you've been doing it for that long, you're like, hey, can I just like take a small break? Can I have a couple days like where I don't have to think about Fortnite?
Yeah.
Like these kids are probably at the point where when they go to sleep, they literally like they close their eyes and they see like one by ones being built. You know what I mean?
Yes, I can imagine that because so many players have been grinding for the World Cup, and now knowing that this is here, they've worked as hard as they could for the biggest possible stage for competitive Fortnite. That now, as good as they got, just building up to that, now they're going to get even better training for this championship series. So I mean, it's going to be crazy to see some of the skill that comes into this. I have the same question as you. I'm hoping they cast some of them. I'm not sure how they're going to do it. Probably similar to how they did a lot of the online qualifiers, where a lot of them will be done online, like similar to how they did cups, and then they'll have them in another tournament that they might do over the weekend to kind of give people, more of a highlight. But they said it's season long standing, so I mean, it's who knows? I needed more information on this, man.
Yeah, me too. I'm super excited to hear what they come out with. We'll probably know more by next week. So come back next week, guys. We'll have another update for you then. But now it's time. Clips of the week. Let's see what we got this week.
Let's cook it up.
Who's going to impress us?
I went in blind this week, so I don't know what any of these clips look like. I retweeted
and just a reminder,
them.
guys, you can send us your clips if you like. And he falls. You see it there. Like, this is in the replay mode, so you don't get to see the knocked, but
that was like swatting a fly.
Right?
Yo, that was great. Was that Vanth?
That was Vanth Agiel. Or Agiel. I don't know. Anyway. Fortnite Theta, clip number 2.
12 HP. Okay.
Yeah, this one's I like this one.
What is he gonna do? Oh man.
Oh, he ain't done, son.
I hope not. Oh, okay. Man, if only Siphon was a thing.
I know, right? He'd be back at full. So this wasn't in arena, obviously, but still, nonetheless, impressive hitting those shots. A couple of real nice. That one's a headshot right
Using
there.
Using his teammate there as a little distraction, like build up to them. Yeah. Oh, that was so clean.
Oh yeah.
When you hit back-to-back shots, I mean that never. There's never a time where that doesn't feel amazing.
Yeah, especially with a gun like the hand cannon, where it's like. Yep.
I still love that gun, man.
High risk, high reward, man. Hits hard.
It's a satisfying feel. It's got a lot of oomph on it.
Yeah, it feels good.
It's a lot of power.
Thing. Yeah, it's nice. It's a great clip there. Fortnite Theta, or FN Theta. I'm assuming that the FN stands for Fortnite. Sauce Baker, clip number 3.
All right. I like the name. This is in an arena game, so make sure you note that. Very beginning of the arena game.
Yeah, the title of this video was "Do Not Run From Me," just to give you a.
You hear somebody.
Title of the clip.
He hears him.
Oh yeah, he's looking. He's looking.
Hello. Oh, see, when you hit that much for white, you got to go after him. Does he even need to go after him? Wait, does he say it? Is that him? Okay. Oh my God, you savage. What? Oh,
right?
I'd be so pissed if I was that guy.
How cheesy would you be if this guy hits these shots on you?
You would have been better off just flying straight down, probably. Man, and he does an L trigger spam on that.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Very, very, very impressive.
God damn.
That guy was good, man. That's some good aim on console too. No left trigger spam. Like,
nope.
Take that, you keyboard players. Some kids can do well with a controller. Maybe it was a PC with a controller. Regardless, controller player, Xbox controller.
Still got that advantage, regardless.
Oh yeah, 100%. Clip number 4, Issa Ferg. Issa me, a Fergio.
Rebooting some teammates here. Does he? Is he able to get him all back or just one?
He gets
down. Oh, he gets two of them back, but then he down loses another team.
Yeah.
That always happens.
But it's okay. He's like, you know what? I'm sick of this other team killing my team, so I'm going to kill all of them.
I like his I like his strategy of hopping instead of walking because I try to do that so they don't hear me running. Just like bunny hop my way over. I love the placement. Oh, that's all. He just has so many people just sitting in front of him. Should have gotten killed by that
whole squad.
Yeah, getting killed by the spikes was his destiny on this. Oh man, just such good timing.
Yeah, the timing was perfect. He knew, like, okay, my teammate just got taken down. These guys are probably going to heal.
You only have a second when they place it, so it makes it even that much crazier.
Well, boom. Oh, yeah. So.
Wow. I mean, I'm gonna go with the first clip.
Really? The snipe?
What was the
first clip? Was
the second
snipe?
Clip was the hand cannon.
Yep.
Baker
Third
chased
clip was
that
the
dude
pistol.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's a tough one.
It is, right? I think
Yeah.
for me it was
we
number
got
3.
a tough decision.
For me, it was number 3.
The chase.
Just those shots. Those shots are so hard to hit with a revolver at that range without using the left trigger cheese. Like
too.
that's.
It was a revolver.
I mean, this is one of those weeks where I'm not upset no matter what clip wins. I'm not like, there's a clear discrepancy in skill level here. People get it right. It's just, I have my favorite.
I'm good. Yeah, I think 3 is the right call. I think.
Well, let's
Sauce
see
Baker.
what the fans think. Drum roll, please.
Oh, my first guess gets it right.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Vanth.
Good job, Vanth.
That nasty snipe.
Nice snipe
Off the top of the sky base. Well done.
Yeah, it was a really good shot. So apparently everybody liked you. Nobody agreed with any of the other guys.
100%.
100.
Liked you.
That's pretty impressive. Clean sweep.
Love to see it.
Do we have any questions from chat? I haven't been.
I didn't catch any. Looks like we've been answering all the questions already.
We've gotten everything live. We just hit it without that being necessary.
Just waiting for the new season and waiting for my old Tilted back, man.
Dude, if they bring back old Tilted, I will be
so
playing way too much Fortnite.
Love
that landing spot.
Dusty Depot and the factories are going to be packed, bro.
Oh, yeah. The factories especially. I love that place too. I'm super excited for that to come back.
Yeah.
Guys, if you have obligations that are real life tomorrow, make sure you take care of them.
I should take off
and then play Fortnite.
I'll take off more.
I'll call it sick.
Yeah, why not?
It's a little early in the year. Yeah, if this was like November, I'd be like, yeah, dude, what are you gonna do? Use all your sick days in a month? Like, are you crazy?
Exactly.
But at this point, you might as well. You might as well just kind of, go get your work done, come home, play Fortnite all night, try and get a couple hours of sleep. Don't stay up all night and then wake up, be like, and then realize, like, look at the clock, see the sun coming up. Oh crap, I gotta go to work.
Yeah, that's the worst feeling in the world.
Hopefully, you guys are on summer vacation, so you don't have to worry about that at all. And you can just stay up all night playing Fortnite and then go to sleep right before your parents wake up, so then that way you don't get in trouble.
But you shouldn't get in trouble because you're training for $3 million now, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Makes it all okay.
Good luck floating that argument, Pat. If you can make that work, all the power to you. But good luck.
Very true. Very true.
Definitely, I don't want to wish anybody some terrible advice here. Anyway, guys. I'm not trying to start household fights, okay?
We're not to blame for this.
No.
We are not to blame.
Yeah, all of our recommendations, we should have a giant disclaimer.
This is not medical advice.
This is not any sort of advice. This is just people talking. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We will be back next week. Hopefully we'll have some more news on the competitive, and we will have all of the season 10 goodies. See you next time.